have an awful lot of items in my life that resonate with me. And I walked all over my house and, I was looking at stuff and trying to figure out what resonates, what tells a great story. And the one thing that just kept coming up for me over and over again is this goddamn trash can. And here's why. I am a mama, and I have my daughter Katie will be 18 in like 5 weeks, which is mind-blowing to me. I don't feel that old, so it's weird to me that she is already technically almost an adult, and my son is 16. And when Katie was very small, she had this huge energy. I was probably the perfect mama for her because as a little tiny person, she just had a lot of fire. And she was very sassy, which I found adorable. And one way to kind of mitigate the sass, because it's hard not to take it personally sometimes, because you're like, damn it, like you lived inside of my body for almost 10 fucking months. I know people say 9 months. No, it was like 10. Like both my kids went like 10 days over, and then the doctor didn't count the first 2 weeks, which I know when I conceived, because we barely ever did it. So don't take away that 2 weeks. Like, I know when it happened. And, she... everyone says that the age of 2 is where it's really difficult, and that's not exactly true. 2 is fine. 3, they have language. And just a hint of reasoning. And they want to tell you all about it. And she was so funny, like just such a funny person. Like I wrote down things that she said on the backs of napkins and on the backs of like junk mail and paper plates, and because she was just saying funny shit all the time. And like I remember her climbing into my lap one day, and she curled up with me and she was like, "Mama, I have all this stuff in my ear." And I was like what? And she goes, "Like language." Oh, okay. So we don't have to go to the doctor. That's fine. She would take a nap, and she didn't want to get in trouble, and so she invented this way of like heading off getting in trouble, and she would come into the room and she would go, "Don't see me." Which I was like, well, I'm just gonna wait 30 seconds and then tiptoe into the room and find out what you're up to. And one day it was that she was sitting in like a totally dirty diaper. She was supposed to be taking a nap, and all of the family photographs back when we printed them all out, how wasteful, they were just all over the floor, and she was sitting right on top of it's like a sticky kid heel on grandma's face, and a full diaper across the family photographs. And she didn't see me when I was coming in. She didn't hear me until I could tell that my presence had become known to her because I could see it go down her spine. And she turned and she looked at me and she went, "Go away, Miss Mama, do something else." Which I thought was really funny. She was just like a very, she would tell you how she felt, but also sometimes sweet. Like one time I was scrubbing the toilet, and I'm in the bathroom, and she goes walking past the bathroom door, and then she backs up, and she goes, "Thank you for doing that." Which became like a phrase that we still use in my house. If you do something nice, everyone says, "Thank you for doing that." And then also, she would tell me, "The crickets aren't crickets, Mama, there's a honcho bug." And she would make you say that. And she just had just her own language, she was a pretty spirited little person. And I can still remember the way it felt the very first time that she looked at me. She was mad because she had covered herself from head to toe in yogurt. And she also drew a pretty good cream cheese fish on the window, which I left for 3 months because I was like, "It's a pretty good fish." I mean, it's little, it's obviously a fish, so just leave it there. And she got mad at me because I picked her up and she was just, kicking, and she was like a little ball of fire. And she couldn't believe that I was, just gonna take her away from this thing she was doing. And the first time she had the crinkle nosed, "I hate you, Mommy," And I just look at her like, oh man, I didn't expect to ever hear that. I always thought no one would ever say that to me. I'm the coolest mom that ever lived on the planet. I don't deserve this shit. You're in trouble, Missy. So then she grew up, and as she got older, she got like super nice. And she kind of became a bit of a pushover, and it in a way it was sort of concerning to me, because she was letting people do things and say things to her and, kind of cut her off and like cut off her sentences, and they would go off and do stuff for the weekend, but they wouldn't call her. And I was watching all this happening, and it was kind of heartbreaking to me, because she doesn't want anybody to be mad at her. And you can't live your life like that. People will be mad at you. And she has all these interests that nobody else shares. Like, she's the only almost 18-year-old that I know that the minute she gets to my house, we watch episodes of Taxi, and she makes declarations like, oh my God, that's the yam guy from Grace and Frankie, and then she looks it up, and sure enough, if you guys have ever watched, some of you guys, he was a hot man. Yeah. He was a hot man when he was on Taxi, and I didn't recognize him because it's been like 40 years, but she knew who he was. She recognizes people from their butts. We could be at the store, she'll see somebody from behind, and she's like, oh my God, that's so-and-so, and then sure enough, they turn around. She's got a gift. And, she likes to play keyboard, and she likes to play her guitar, and she has her first one of her first significant crushes was Billy Crystal. Yeah, seriously. Well, actually, her very first was when she was like 6 years old. She loved Gonzo, and she loved the Muppet, and she loved Paul McCartney. And so her first, one of her first Christmas presents was a locket that had each of their faces on each side. And when I told that to my friend Eric, he was like, she just killed 2 birds with 1 stone and loved Ringo, which I thought was pretty funny. Good one. I proposed that to Katie, and she was like, Mom, nobody loves Ringo. So there's that. But she was kind of having a hard time connecting with other people, and she has a huge heart. She's so incredibly perceptive. Here's the thing I probably didn't expect to say on stage, but not that long ago, my daughter walked in the house and went, Mom, you had sex. And I was like, oh, I did. How did you know? And she's like, because you're glowing. So she knows things. She's very ridiculously perceptive, but also super sweet, and I was afraid that she was just too nice. And so I kind of was looking for some evidence, she's a young woman and she's about to launch into the world, and I just wanted to know that the world wasn't going to chew her up and spit her out, that she had some fire left in her, and that hadn't all gone away. And then my son came in the house. He's pissed, he's really mad. Katie basically just goes straight up to her room. And I was like, well, what happened? And he goes, well, this is what happened. And he goes, so we took the trash out, and Katie just basically took this trash and went. So you can see what happened there was that the insert to my trash can fell out and just went right into the big green trash can where we put all of our garbage that are all around here. And Miles was like, Katie, you just threw the insert to the trash into the trash can. You can't, that part, you need it because otherwise, this isn't a trash can, it's just a container. There's no bottom. And so Katie, in her frustration, instead of deciding that she was gonna go retrieve the other part, just took this part and threw that into the trash. So my son comes into the house and he's pissed. He's holding my trash can, so obviously everything worked out. He was like, she just threw it away. She just threw away the insert, and then she threw away the other part. And then I yelled at her, and she was just like, what up, fuck this, and she went in the house. And so he's mad, because he's like, well, I said, well, so you got the trash can, you got it out, right? And he's like, well, yeah, I mean, I had to tip it over and roll it around and get it, but I got it, it was disgusting, and I had to wash my hands a lot. And I was like, okay, well, first of all, and he's telling me this, he thinks I'm supposed to get mad, and she's gonna get grounded for throwing away the trash. And instead, I'm thinking to myself, well, hell yeah, girl. You got your spark, and you're gonna be just fine. And I really appreciate that about you. And that's when I knew. She will be just fine. She still has it, and whenever something's stupid and shitty, she knows when to just throw it out and walk away. But also my son knows when to go to get it out of the trash so that I don't freak out, because I totally would have freaked out. But, and that's all I could think about as I walked around my house looking for something to talk about was this damn trash can, and how proud I am that my daughter is, you know, kind of a little turd. So thank you, everyone. Thank you very much for coming to Speakeasy. We love to have you. This has been about 6 years of this every single month, the first Thursday of every month. And it is BYOB, so go ahead and bring it next time. And we'll see you then for your whatever story you want to bring us. Thanks, guys.